Since the 17th and 18th centuries in Europe, objectivism has greatly influenced the interpretation of the Bible. In essence, scholars have believed that they can interpret Scripture impartially, and that they can know its meaning with relative certainty. Most objectivists don't argue that we can remove all our personal biases and perspectives when we interpret the Bible, but they do believe that we can prevent these from affecting our interpretations so that we can arrive at a true understanding of Scripture. For example, we all know the first verse of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, which says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Most people would agree that it's relatively easy to understand the basic meaning of this passage. At a minimum, we can say with confidence that it means God created everything. When objectivists say that Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 means that God created everything, they believe that they understand the verse without bias. So they tend to think that anyone who rejects their interpretation simply disagrees with an obvious fact. Now, why have so many biblical interpreters followed this approach to the meaning of Scripture? Objectivism can be identified with the most prominent current in the stream of modern philosophy, the current we'll call scientific rationalism. René Descartes, who lived from 1596 to 1650, is often called the father of modern rationalism because he promoted reason as the supreme judge of truth. From his point of view, things like religion, traditions, beliefs, intuitions, and superstitions confuse our thinking and hide objective reality from us. But Descartes insisted that reliance on rigorous logical thinking frees human beings from confusion and enables us to discover objective truth. Scientific rationalism was also affected by developments in the natural sciences. Francis Bacon, who lived from 1561 to 1626, is often called the father of modern science because he applied rational logical thinking to the study of the physical world. In effect, Bacon promoted the idea that orderly empirical investigation, what we often call the scientific method, restrains human subjectivity, enabling us to gain an objective understanding of the world around us. Scientific rationalism was so influential that nearly every field of study from the 17th century through the middle of the 20th century adopted its perspectives. Even disciplines like religion and theology have been subjected to rational scientific analysis. Critical scholars normally argue that the best way to evaluate the Scriptures is by means of rational investigation, such as those used by science, archaeology, and history. Sadly, critical scholars often fail to recognize the limits of these kinds of investigations, so they end up rejecting many of Scripture's claims and teachings. In contrast to critical scholars, evangelicals insist that Scripture is absolutely true and authoritative, and that all scientific findings must ultimately be subject to its teachings. This doesn't mean that we can't learn important things about the Bible from science, archaeology, and history. Used rightly and in submission to biblical authority, reason and scientific methods are very useful tools for finding meaning in the Bible. And insights from these disciplines often help us understand those aspects of Scripture that relate to scientific, archaeological, and historical information. But these disciplines should never be used to reject the claims and teachings of Scripture.
When we employ a rigorous methodology in biblical interpretation, that is an advantage. In that, it keeps us honest. It prevents us from being either casual or less than properly informed when we go to Scripture. At the same time, methodological rigor can lead at times to not allowing the Bible to say what it is saying. It can lead to reductive interpretations. And so I think it's important that when we go to the Bible, we always keep in mind that methodology is a means to an end. It is not an end in itself. And therefore, the goal is to rightly understand Scripture. That's always the point.